Welcome back, artistic ladies and gentlemen, to this week's deck building video for the Wizard Wednesday challenge, where I'm gonna be guiding you through my thought process in building the Togekiss Raikou deck, Togekiss Raikou, and possibly some other Pokemon, because I have yet to build a deck. I have yet to pick the partners for Raikou. This deck is going to be based off of a deck that I ran into when I was testing with my Darkrai Giratina Garbodor deck this Monday. I ran into Togekiss Raikou and it utterly destroyed me. To be fair, I had trouble setting up. Nonetheless though, I really liked the idea of the combination of Togekiss and Raikou, so I'm going to try to recreate my opponent's deck, try to build my own variant of it right here. Be warned, there won't be any battles in this video. If you want to check out battles with this deck, click the video annotation on the top right of the screen or click the link in the description. If you want to check out my Darkrai Giratina Garbodor deck, click the video annotation on the top left of the screen or the link in the description. For now, grab a bite to eat, sit back, relax and enjoy the deck building. We are going to start off with Togekiss, the stage 2 with the Delta Evolution trait. You may play this card from your hand to evolve a Pokemon during your first turn, which is going to be our Togetic, or the turn you play that Pokemon. So basically we get to evolve from our Togetic in the turn that we have played down our Togetic, which normally is not possible, but thanks to that Delta Evolution trait, that is going to be possible for us. And then we can make use of the Serene or the Serene Grace ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve our Togetic, you may look at the top 8 cards of your deck, choose any basic energy cards you find there, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So we are going to use this Togekiss for this Serene Grace ability only. We are going to look for energies and attach them to our Raikou, so we can hit for a bit of damage with the Thunder Lance attack for 50 plus 20 more damage for each lightning energy attached to this Pokemon. Because we need lightning energy, we are going to be playing lightning energy. I already added 12 lightning energy to the deck list just as a starting point, just as a starting reference. I might increase or decrease the count later on, but we do need a fair amount of energies in the deck that we are going to be building here, because we want to increase or have a good chance of finding those energies when we use the Serene Grace ability from the Togekiss, so that we can power up our Raikou with a decent amount of energies and hit for 110 or 130 damage at the very least. Then we have also the Shining Body ability. If this Pokemon has any lightning energy attached to it, any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 20, basically giving the Raikou 140 HP as long as it has not been damaged yet. What I'm going to do first right here is try to find some more partners for Togekiss and Raikou, because I think a Raikou by itself can work for sure, but I think we need some more variety in our attackers, so I'm going to look for some more attackers that can help Raikou in certain matchups. Alright, I have found some possible partners for our Raikou. Let's go over them. Let's start off with the Zapdos. Zapdos with a Raging Thunder attack for 120 damage and 40 damage to one of our own benched Pokemon. This doesn't immediately look like the best of sidekicks for our Raikou, and I think that's correct. I think there is better sidekicks, or there are better sidekicks out there. Why am I showing this card to you? Because the original list that I ran into actually ran Zapdos in combination with Raikou and Togekiss. However, since I have this feeling there's better partners, I'm going to get rid of the Zapdos and we will take a look at Pikachu instead. Pikachu EX with the Overspark attack. We discard all lightning energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 50 damage times the number of energy cards you discarded. So if you have 4 lightning energy attached, we actually do 200 damage. Sadly enough, we have to discard all those energies, so somehow we will need to get them back and then play down another Togekiss if we want to power up our Pikachu again. Luckily the Pikachu has a 1 retreat cost, so it is pretty easy to retreat even if we have used the Overspark attack. We could also include Jolteon-EX with their Flash Ray. Hits for 70 during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. A very popular card, a very expensive card for good reasons, because the Flash Ray attack is a very good attack in certainly against decks like Night March. Very good. If you can get it going without benching too many Shaymins or things like that, which your opponent can Lysandre out, I think this is a stayer. This Pokemon is going to stay here sure we are going to include Jolteon-EX in our deck for sure as a partner for our Raikou, because we can power it up very easily using the Serene Grace ability from the Togekiss. We could also include the Dene with the energy short. It's for 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, a great counter against Yveltal, and also has the entrainment, allows us to search our deck for 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto our bench and shuffle our deck afterwards. This could be our Raikou, for example. Then we could also include Ampharos-EX with the Sparkling Tail attack, hitting for 100 damage for 4 energies. That is not fantastic. It's pretty below average, I think, for the amount of energy that you need to attach. But what makes this attack a possible contender, or what makes this card a possible contender to be included in this list, is the effect of the attack. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, which means if we are up against a Jolteon-EX ourselves, we can actually power up an Ampharos-EX to deal with that Jolteon-EX, because if the Jolteon hits for a Flash Ray, we can hit back for a Sparkling Tail, denying the effect of the Flash Ray, because that is what the effect of the Sparkling Tail is. And I think because of that reason, we should include an Ampharos-EX in this deck, so I think I will leave it in here for now. Then we have some colorless Pokemon we could include as well. We could include a Bunnelby to shuffle back resources in our deck, possibly energies, and then we can get those energies out of our deck with the Serene Grace ability. That is a possibility. We could include the Dunsparce because of its second bite attack. This attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Only takes 2 energies, very easily powered up with our Togekiss. And we can then come in after we hit for 110 damage with the Thunder Lance with our Raikou. Raikou got knocked out. We can promote our Dunsparce and hit for a KO on our opponent's active Pokemon, finish off that Pokemon which we damaged with our Raikou. That is a possibility here to include Dunsparce. We could also include Lugia-EX with the Arrow Ball. This attack does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So we can attach lots of energies to our Lugia-EX with our Togekiss and then hit for a ton of damage. Another thing that's really great about this Lugia-EX is that it's lightning weak and fighting resistant, while our lightning Pokemon are fighting weak and metal resistant. So basically, if we include colorless Pokemon, we take care somewhat of our fighting weakness because we include a Pokemon which is fighting resistant. We could also include the Lugia, the basic Lugia, with the pressure ability, reducing damage done to Lugia by 20 if it is in the active spot, and the intensifying burn attack hits for 60 and 60 more if our opponent's active Pokemon is an EX Pokemon. Same as the Lugia-EX, it has fighting resistance, so that's again a good reason to include this Lugia. And finally we have Bouffalant with the Revenge attack, hits for 20 and then 70 more damage if one of our Pokemon was knocked out in a previous turn. It's kind of like the Druddigon, the Dragon Druddigon, which has a very similar attack. I think it's also called Revenge, I'm not too sure. So we could include it as a replacement of a Druddigon in this deck to combat or to counter Vespiquen Vileplume, because Vespiquen has 90 HP, and when Vespiquen knocks out our Pokemon, we can promote our Bouffalant, hit for 90 damage against the Vespiquen for 2 energies, which is pretty good. And if our opponent then promotes another Vespiquen, my opponent only takes 2 prizes, or only takes 1 prize for knocking out our Bouffalant, instead of taking 2 prizes for knocking out a Pikachu EX, for example. So now we have to decide which one of these Pokemon are we going to keep, and I think, as I said, the Jolteon and the Ampharos-EX are here to stay. The Pikachu is probably going to go, mainly because it's got such a low HP and we have to discard the energies. I think that's why I'm going to get rid of the Pikachu. I am also going to get rid of the Bunnelby and the Bouffalant. They are very situational cards, so mainly the Bouffalant, very situational. I want to keep at least 1 colorless Pokemon just to cover our fighting weakness. And I think I'm going to keep the Lugia, the basic Lugia, not the stage 2, since Night March is still very much prevalent and very easily deals with our Lugia-EX. So we don't want to see a Lysandre on a Lugia if we benched it in a Night March matchup for some reason, if we had to, because we didn't have another attacker. That's why I'm going to get rid of the Lugia-EX. I'm going to keep the Lugia with his 2 retreat costs, slightly annoying because our other Pokemon have 1 retreat cost. The Jolteon has 3 retreats, and Ampharos also has a 2 retreat cost. So because of this Ampharos and because of the Lugia, we will need to include some switching cards, make sure the Ampharos and the Lugia don't get stuck in the active spot. I'm not sure about the Dunsparce and the Dedenne yet. I will leave them in the deck for now. If at some point we need extra space in this deck list, in this deck after adding the trainers, I think I will remove either the Dunsparce or the Dedenne or both, depending on how much extra space we need. Moving on, let's have a quick look at our Togekiss once more. Togekiss is a stage 2, so we need to include at least one Togetic so we can evolve into our Togekiss. My goodness, I cannot spell. Okay, here we go. Togetic, 4 copies of Togetic. What does Togetic do? Togetic has the Go Fetch attack. Shuffle 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. For sure useful for us to recycle our energies and get them out with the Serene Grace ability again. And then a variant which we will never use because we don't run fairy energies. And we also need to include a Togepi, the basic Pokemon. Only one choice for us, so let's include some copies of Togepi as well. Togepi can hit for a Sweet Kiss for 10 damage, and then our opponent draws a card. Not the best of cards here, but oh well, it is cute, I guess. It's cute, so that's something. We have a 4-4 line of Togepi, Togetic and Togekiss right now. I think I will thin it down to a 3-3 and 3 line. Possibly a 2-2-2 line, I'm not sure yet. We will have to see what kind of trainers we include and how tight on space we are in this list here. So let's move on into the trainers. I already prepared a pretty standard set of trainers for this deck. We have 4 Sycamore for draw support, 4 N for draw support, Lysandres to target our opponent's Pokemon, VS Seekers to recycle our draw supporters and our Lysandre, and possibly some other supporters that we include, Ultra Balls 4 copies to get out our Pokemon, and then for Trainers Mail to look for our Ultra Balls and possibly other item cards that we are going to include. This is a pretty standard set of trainer cards that you will find in most competitive lists, at least in somewhat varying counts. Sometimes you will see more Sycamores or less N, 1 Lysandre or 2 Lysandres. Maybe sometimes no Trainers Mail because some decks don't really need Trainers Mail for their consistency. But this is a very good base to start off with for any deck that you are trying to build. So we are going to start from this. I'm already going to reduce the count of the N to 2 because we have Shaymin here. Shaymin to help us set up 2 copies of Shaymin is what we are going to use in addition to 2 N and 4 Sycamore. I think that is pretty good for the draw support already. Then let's have a look. We are also going to include some Super Rods. Super Rod to shuffle back the Raikous and the Jolteon as well as the Ampharos, maybe the Dunsparce if it stays in a deck. And I think I'm going to include multiple copies of the Super Rod, to be honest. Maybe let's start with 3 and then let's bring up energy and energy recycling cards. Let's have a look. Can we find energy recycling cards? Yes, here we go. Energy Recycler. Alright. Let's read the cards. Shuffle 5 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. I am going to go with Energy Recycler and not something like the Energy Retrieval which we see here or the Fisherman, because this card puts the energies back into our deck and that is exactly what we need. We need to put energies into our deck, not into our hands, because the Serene Grace ability works by pulling energies out of our deck and not from our hands. So I think that's why this Energy Recycle card is a very nice addition. And since we are going to include a fair amount of copies of this card, I think we need less Super Rods. Super Rods kind of works like the Energy Recycler, with the difference that it also allows us to shuffle back Pokemon, but only in smaller quantities, only a maximum of 3, while the Energy Recycler allows us to shuffle back 5 basic energies. Then we are also going to include what's it called again? We are going to include the Devolution Spray. This is a card that my opponent was running in his original list and I really liked the addition of it. Let's start with 3 Devolution Sprays, maybe 4 even. Devolution Spray allows us to devolve our Togekiss back into a Togetic, and in the same turn we can evolve back into the Togekiss because of the Delta evolution trait from the Togekiss. So we can make use of the Serene Grace ability very easily. That way we don't really need to get out another line of Togekiss. If we want to use the Serene Grace ability, all we need to do is find find the Devolution Spray to get out some more energies, make use of that Serene Grace ability. Now we are up to 59 cards. Are we missing something? We are missing tool cards. We need to include some tool cards, and I think the tool card of choice is going to be Fighting Fury Belt. There's no doubt about it. 3 Fighting Fury Belts. Fighting Fury Belt works great, works like a charm with Raikou, giving Raikou 160 HP, and if we have a Lightning Energy attached, 180 because of the Shining Body ability, gives Jolteon 200 HP and Ampharos 210 HP, which is pretty impressive. We are up to 62 cards, so we are already short on space in this list here. I think I need to start cutting some things back, and we are going to start by cutting some Pokemon out. Let's cut out the Dunsparce and let's cut out the Dedenne. As I discussed earlier, these two were the first to go if we were tight on space, so let's cut those two out. Then we have 17 Pokemon, which is still quite a lot. It makes me wonder here, do I maybe want to reduce or thin out this Togetic and Togepi line? I might just bring it down to a 3-3-2 line, because the most important part for us is to get out the Togepi in our first turn, and then evolve into the Togetic in our second turn, as well as the Togekiss in our second turn, because Togekiss can immediately evolve from the Togetic. So getting out that Togepi is going to be crucial, which tells me I need to include some level balls, make sure we can find our Togepi, and I think 3 level balls is going to be at least the very minimum we need to go with to make sure we find our Togepi in our first turn. So we are back up to 62 cards now. We need to cut some more. What else can we cut? Let's take a look at our list. We are missing a stadium as well. Let's get out a Rough Seas. Rough Seas is going to be the stadium of choice. And let's include 2 copies of Rough Seas. So we are 4 cards over the maximum amount of 60 cards at the moment. What can we reduce even more? We could reduce 1 more Energy Recycler and work with a 2-2 line of Super Rod and Energy Recycler. I think that should be sufficient for any matchup. 2-2 line there. Maybe we need only 2 Raikous, because we have 2 Super Rods. Maybe 2 Raikous is sufficient. Yes, I think I'm going to stick with 2 Raikous, 1 Lugia, 1 Jolteon, 1 Ampharos as the attackers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attackers. Actually, that's not a whole lot. I might just include 3 Raikous, because 5 attackers, that is not a whole lot. That is going to be tough to search for in our first turns. So let's stick with 3 Raikous. Let's reduce something else instead. We could reduce the Lysandre counts by 1, but we also need some other supporters. We need to include some more supporters. What kind of supporters can we include? Let's scroll through this trainer card list for a moment here. We could include an AZ and AZ up our Pokemon. We could AZ up the Togetic line, for example. That is a possibility. However, we already have our Devolution Spray, so I'm not going to include AZ because we already played Devolution Spray. I could include a Bridget, but I already have 3 level balls, so Bridget doesn't seem too useful for us. Cassius is an option. Shuffle back energies into our deck. That is definitely a nice option we could go for here with Cassius. So let's for now include 1 copy of Cassius. We have Delinquents, not too useful for us. We are not a deck that tries to disrupt the opponent. We try to be a fast deck to set up fast. Fisherman, again, not useful because it puts energies into our hand. Giovanni could be useful to increase our damage output. However, I think there's better cards to include, like the Hex Maniac. Hex Maniac to shut down item lock, for example, could be a very, very useful card for us to get rid of the item lock if we face Revenant, if we face Vileplume, Vespiquen Vileplume. Misty's Determination. We could replace 1 Sycamore with Misty's Determination to look for something like a Devolution Spray without having to discard our hand. So let's include 1 Misty's Determination for now. There's the N. Switching cards. Oh, I forgot about switching cards so far. We should think of some switching cards as well. What kind of switching cards could we include to switch back our Ampharos out of the active spots? What could we include? Skyla. We could also include Skyla as a supporter. Do we need to Skyla for something? We could Skyla for an Energy Recycler, or maybe a Teammates Teammates could be useful. And then we could look for a Togekiss as well as maybe an Energy Recycler in the same turn. So yeah, I think I will go with the Teammates. There's Trainers Mail. No need for that anymore. Wally, we don't really need Wally. We don't run any evolution Pokemon except for the Togetic, but we already have the Delta Evolution traits to help us evolve a little bit faster. So there we go. Now we are up to 66 cards if I discard the extra Teammates. Which one of these supporters are we going to keep? Definitely an Hex Maniac and definitely the Teammates. The Misty's Determination and the Cassius I'm not too sure about at the moment. I think I'm going to get rid of the Cassius because we already have some ways to shuffle back energies from our discard pile into our deck, so we don't need to try to preserve our energies by Cassiusing away a Pokemon into our deck. We don't really need to do that. And the Misty's Determination, I think it's a bit of a weak draw supporter. We are going to stick to the Sycamores to draw through our deck. So again, we still need to reduce our counts some more by 4. I might get rid of 1 energy, bring my energy count to 11. 10 is the very minimum. I don't want to go lower than 10. I will also get rid of 1 Trainer's Mail and possibly 1 Ultra Ball. 1 Ultra Ball, we have 3 Level Ball and 3 Ultra Balls then to look for our Pokemon as Pokemon search cards. That should be sufficient in addition to our Sycamores and our N. Now we need to get rid of 1 more card. What could we do? We could get rid of the Devolution Spray. And I think I might do that. I think I might get rid of the Devolution Spray. Since the Devolution Spray is a dead card in our starting hand, it is only useful once we have gotten out our Togekiss. If we start off with Devolution Sprays in our hands, we will just have to discard them or be stuck with them. So I'm going to reduce the count to 2. And I think we have arrived at the final list, and this is going to be the list I'm going to be working with today. This was not a very easy deck to build, I gotta be honest. Definitely not a very easy deck. I wish I had been able to take a look at my opponent's deck, see what his counts were. I know he played the Devolution Spray, but I just wonder what were his counts, how many did he play? I saw him use 2 at the very least. I think he played something like 3 Devolution Spray. He definitely played Energy Recycler, and he also played what did he play? He also played Fighting Fury Belt. So those are things I remember from my opponent's list. The rest I kinda had to make up, and I kinda had to guess the counts that my opponent was playing of certain cards. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to try to find myself some opponents in the versus ladder. Again, if you want to see the battles with this deck, click the video annotation on the top right of the screen or click the link in the description. Leave a like if you enjoy the idea behind this deck, if you somehow are captivated by it like I was when I ran into the deck, and subscribe to my channel for more Wizard Wednesday episodes. I hope you have a truly Karp-tastic day, and I will see you next time on Friday with a fun Friday episode.
Karp, 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 Karp.